ช่วงนี้ติดตามข่าวภาษาอังกฤษกับไทย PBS World ค่ะ Good evening and welcome to the Thai PBS World. Hong Konger joined the protest 11 weeks in a row, and it was reported that a quarter of Hong Konger joined the protest on Sunday.The huge turnout, which began from demanding withdrawal of extradition bill, evolved into calling for greater political freedom and democracy. I was in Hong Kong last week to cover the protest. I talked to Emily Lau, chair of Hong Kong Democratic Party International Affairs Committee.
Well, I think it is very sad that the government of Carrie Lam has consistently refused.to respond to the demands. And these are not just demands of protesters. These are demands of many Hong Kong people. You know, we had a march of 1 million people and then another march, 2 million. So many Hong Kong people think that she should respond to all these demands. And of course she said she stopped the bill, the extradition bill, which caused all this. But people say you cannot say the bill is dead.You should say the bill is completely withdrawn, because if you say it's dead, and some people say you heard of Lazarus, he came back from the dead. So we don't want that language. Why can't you say it's withdrawn?
So do you think that if Carrie Lam resign, that will stop all the rally, all the tension at the moment?
Well, I think if she goes, definitely a lot of people would be happy.And also some of her officials, you know, the Secretary for Justice, Teresa Chang, and the Secretary for Security, John Lee. I mean, if those people resign, that would really let off a lot of anger. And what people want now is to de-escalate and not to escalate. But if the government does not respond, does not do anything, then it may escalate. And then we may see people dying. And then if you have troops coming in, there may be rivers of blood flowing in Hong Kong. We don't want to see that. Hong Kong has never been a city like that.
How do you see power or energy among protesters in Hong Kong? Do they justify in terms of their action? Because right now they are quite persistent. Perhaps they are moving to the airport again, even though they come out to say sorry.How do you see things from the side from protesters?
Well, actually it's very difficult because the protesters say they have no leaders, no platform. So, and they make decision by just putting something online and see people vote and agree. So it's very difficult. But I think you should also look at the Hong Kong people. They are not all protesters like that. But.When they call for action, some people look at the thing and they will turn up to support them. So the question is, for how long the Hong Kong people will go and support them? If suddenly one day many people do not turn up, then there may be not too many protesters. But if every time a lot of people turn up, then maybe there are some who are, you know, not afraid of fighting with the police.But others, they don't fight, but they are there to give them strength, to give them support. So we have to see what the vast majority of Hong Kong people want. I think the main thing is the Carrie Lam administration should come out to respond. You cannot always just hide in government house. How can you run Hong Kong like that?
This weekend is the 11th weekend of the rally.What would be the stance of the protester? Because from my understanding is people may be getting worried and support them less and less because of their action at the airport.
The mood is very volatile. Some may not support violence, but they are also angry with the government. So it's very difficult to predict what would happen. But I think many people want the sentiment to de-escalate instead of escalate. end up in more violence, maybe storming of police stations again, and maybe people getting hurt or even killed. That would be terrible. So I hope the government has some wisdom. And if the Chinese government keep coming out with very provocative statements, I don't think that's going to help.
What do you think is the root cause of the rally, which is holding on for 11 weeks, and it shows what protesters want for their future? But from your perspective, what's the root cause of it? Is it about one country, two systems?
The whole thing started off with the bill, and Carrie Lam thought she could get the bill passed because she had survived a number of controversies. But this time, the people really feared being sent back to be tried in mainland China, where there is complete lawlessness, no human rights, no personal safety, and no rule of law. People are very scared. The thing is, Hong Kong is part of China. We have no democracy. Carrie Lam was not elected by us. In our Legislative Council, only half of the members are elected by the people. The other half are elected by the rich and the powerful. So it's not a democracy. But the irony is, the people here, we enjoy freedoms, personal safety, and the rule of law more than people in many democracies in Asia and elsewhere. We value our personal safety in a sense that now I'm talking to you. When I walk out of the room, there won't be somebody there to arrest me or to arrest you. Personal safety, freedom to speak my mind, the rule of law. Our judges are very independent. In many cases, they find the government wrong. The government would lose cases in court. These are the things that we enjoy. These are our core values. But the people see that these core values are crumbling. You said one country, two systems. A few months ago, there was a report by the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House of Commons in the United Kingdom. And the report said, oh, no longer one country, two systems. It's one country, 1.5 systems. That was written in March. If they write it now, maybe it's one country, 1.1 system. So it's just fading, crumbling.
Is it beyond your imagination that Hong Kong has come to this point? And what do you see as the future of Hong Kong?
Well, I think in a sense it's beyond my imagination because it's over such an insignificant thing that Carrie Lam tried to push. She should have known that it touched a raw nerve, and she should have stopped earlier on. Then the whole thing would be over. But she insisted. And then the pro-Beijing politicians working with her all said, yes, sir, yes, sir. Nobody dared to say no. That's how the thing just kept exploding. But if they had realized it's bad, they'd stop it. It wouldn't have happened. We had thought that something like this may happen when they try to enact legislation on national security. They tried to do it in 2003, and many people took to the streets. And then one party, the Liberal Party, which is pro-Beijing and pro-business, they saw the people marching. They had 8 members in the Legislative Council. They decided to withdraw their support. The government had no support. They have to abandon the bill. But this time, no members decide to abandon it. They kept saying, Carrie, go, Carrie, go. So we're like this. So all these pro-Beijing politicians in the Executive Council and the Legislative Council, they are all guilty.
In a separate move by Carrie Lam today, Chief Executive of Hong Kong, she said she would like to open for dialogue with protesters, but she still declined to comply with protester demand to withdraw controversial bill of extradition. And in a press conference today, Carrie Lam said that her office will start immediately a platform for dialogue with people from all walks of life, while promising to have an investigation into an allegation against the police operation.
I have just explained and elaborated on 2 important areas of work that we are doing. One is important fact-finding study, in addition to a very robust system to investigate and look at the complaints against police over this prolonged period of confrontations and violence. The other is a more rare arrangement, is for the IPCC, which is statutory and independent, to create a fact-finding study into the causes and the facts of this incident. So I hope that this is a very responsible response to the aspirations for better understanding of what has taken place in Hong Kong. And more important of all, it is not just fact-finding to provide the sequence of facts. It also will provide the government with recommendations on how to move forward and also to avoid the recurrence of similar incidents. The second area of work that I have announced, which will give us much better basis to address some anxieties and differences in society, is we will start immediately a platform for dialogue with people from all walks of life. So this is something that we want to do in a very sincere and humble manner. I and my principal officials are committed to listen to what the people have to tell us, and we want to reach out to the community as soon as possible.
Please, can you give a clear reason as to why the extradition bill cannot be simply withdrawn from the legislature? Precisely why not?
Well, on the second question, I have repeatedly replied on various occasions, and I can give you this a very clear commitment at the political level that the bill is dead. There is no plan. There's no plan to revive this bill, especially in light of the public concerns. The second or the first point in your two-pronged question, I cannot comment as a chief executive on the commercial decisions of individual companies. I hope you understand that. But I remain convinced that Hong Kong has her unique advantages in attracting overseas companies to come to Hong Kong. One of the most important strengths is a rule of law. That's why we have been doing so much to ensure that the rule of law is being upheld and respected in Hong Kong.
And that's all from Thai PBS World tonight.